Welcome to today's discussion. Off the record, I was in the middle of doing readings, and Spirit has me coming just to be kind of transparent. I've been being led to do this for quite some time now. In this moment, I feel the urge to do it. And it's about being a little bit transparent about my experience. And I don't know, this might help someone. I'm just being, open and flexible. I'm being obedient. And so this is about people showing you who you are, who they are, people showing you who they are and believing them the first time, specifically about the first time he calls you a Bia, right? The first time. Believe him the first time. And the idea around this is understanding who you're dealing with and believing who it is that they're showing you that they are. And I have some personal experience, lots of personal experience, right? As much as I may look like I've never been through anything, honey, I have some stories for you. And I don't mind sharing and being transparent because that's why we experience things, to learn from each other, to share, to help each other grow, to help each other avoid things that are not necessarily necessary. You don't have to roll around in the dust to know that you're going to get dirty, right? There's some people that can hear a story with a moral lesson and follow that and understand it and benefit from that and learn the lesson without having to experience it. And then there are those that have to experience it and get the lesson that way through the experience. Well, for those that can learn and listen and just get it, this is for you. And so we're talking about understanding who we're dealing with, right? Especially when it comes to, understanding the importance of knowing who you are as a woman and what it is that you expect. You'll never get anything more than that. We'll start with that. And one of the things that I was told when I was really early in my young teenage years, when I first began dating and, mingling with men or boys, was that, men will go. And this was a person who told me this that I didn't even know. It was a man who, had enough respect to be honest, and he overheard, a couple of us young ladies talking, and we were talking about how, guys will just kind of tell you what you want to hear and they'll do whatever they want to do. And he looked over and he was, listening, and he just said, you know what, I'm going to tell you, men will go as far as you allow them to go. Right. And not to say this is man versus woman, but that's just for people in general. In this case, I'm sensitively talking about how we allow ourselves to be treated. Right. But what I learned, and it took me years to understand that, even now that is ringing so loudly as I look back at my experience, how I accepted a lot of stuff that I didn't have to. Understanding that very first time, I was in a situationship as it began, where it was with someone that I was becoming familiar with. And as soon as that person thought they were just comfortable enough or they were in good enough, like they showed a little bit of their true colors, right? The first time that I was called out of my name by this person, and I would eventually go along to marry this person, right? But the first time, the first sign of him showing me who he was, but because I was, first of all, still very young, not really knowing a lot. I was one of those people that had to learn by experience, right? I couldn't listen to a story of someone else's experience and absorb that experience and make it my own. I had to learn by experiencing, because it wasn't because I didn't have a lack of mentors or good people that were in my ear. They were, I had women all around me. I was raised by women who told me constantly things that are clear now, but at the time, I had to experience it to understand the truth of it. But early on in the relationship, at the first, maybe not the first, maybe the second big sprawl that we had, this person called me out of my name for no apparent reason. The situation, as I recall it, was because there was insecurities, right, about whether or not I could be trusted, right? And so in that moment of frustration, that word came out directed at me, right? And it was like, how dare you, But as the moment went on, we sold things up and it was good. But I say that to say that was the very tip of the iceberg of what would come, later on. And that was just the very beginning, the very display of what really was deeply rooted in the core of who this person was, right? And as I look now and I look at other examples of men in my life, that are close to me, and I can't even imagine some of them even uttering those words to the woman or to women or to the woman that they are committed to or obligated to, right? And I know we've come to a time now where the word is very loose. Like we play about that, Bia, stop playing. We call each other that, but this was not that time. This was like maybe about 30 years ago, maybe even a little bit more. And so that word was still very derogatory, right? And as I look around at the men, that's not anything that they would ever do. And there has been disappointment, in relationships. There has been some failures, but that word never comes up. It's never uttered. And it's almost like that is like the lowest of the low, right? When it comes to how you relate to someone that you say that you care for. And I say that to say that this is a person really showing you in the heat of a moment who they really are. And if you are not paying attention, you will go on to create a life, right? Ignoring the small little red flags and the small little fires that's actually shouting at you, right? And so, as I stated, it wasn't a big deal. It was kind of brushed over. We went into this, what we would call a honeymoon, and it was okay. But later on, it would, turn out to really be who this person was at a core level. Someone that did not even really have a lot of respect, even for like the most sacred women in their life. And as I look back, it's really a fault on me for not knowing better and for not expecting better. Because again, people will go as far as you allow them to go. It's because of lack of boundaries, lack of standards, lack of self-worth, right? That we would put up with these things. And so the first time, that's my message. The first time that they call you a bia, listen, that's him letting you know who he is at a foundational core level, because it doesn't change. And when I tell you that that has echoed through every part of my life as I was building a life with this person, and it just didn't sink in for some reason. Even people that I didn't even know was telling me and speaking wisdom to me about the decisions that I was about to make. And so I go on to build a life with this person. And sure as the sky is blue, right? The more you get to know, the more embedded you are in the relationship, the more comfortable people get, the more they begin to show more and more of who they are, because it becomes less scary, I guess, that you will leave. Or there's the idea that, okay, I'm home free, so there's nothing you can do now. And God forbid you have kids and now you're stuck with this person like for the rest of your life, and so it was just more of that to come, more unfolding, more disrespect, more just being really nasty, in very just in very ways of being the word that I want to use, in ways of and I don't want to name or label anybody. We have all kinds of labels for people now. But when we really get down to the core of what we're talking about things that we have learned is okay. For whatever reason, in the ways that he was living, maybe even some ways that he grew up, those things were considered okay. I even have people close to me, that I know wasn't raised like that do it, and it's like, it has a lot to do with what we tolerate, right? Because again, I know some people that would never in a million years ever utter that word, but I also know some women who will not tolerate that. And so it's almost like there is a responsibility from the man that's perpetrating these acts, but there's also the responsibility from the one who is receiving it and dealing with it and putting up with it. And it wasn't like it was like this every other day, I was this and that. But in the times of life where respect would be expected, when the relationship starts failing and there's nothing left to lose, that's when it matters most. And that's when you really find out like who a person is, when things start falling apart and things really began to become evident, right? And so nothing changes, right? And so if you are with someone who feels like it's okay to disrespect you and call you out of your name, if you're with someone who doesn't see you as valuable enough to honor your wishes, when it comes to you telling them what you value or what you desire, what you don't want, right? That doesn't change. And it says a lot about them. It doesn't say a lot about you, it says a lot about them. And you have to believe them. You got to believe them, right? It's not going to change. It's not because, he's really upset right now and, at work, they're on his nerves and he's just not having a good day. And that's true for women too. Okay, let me just be real. It's true for women too. We can be some bats out of hell as well. We can be abusive as well, and mess up a good man, just like a good man can mess up a good woman. It goes both ways. Let me just say that. But when that happens, that first time, that's just a little glimpse of what is to come. And I think in my situation, it could have been a lot worse if I fed into it. But one thing that I did know, I knew for sure that I wasn't raised that way. And so it's what I learned is it's not what they call you, but it's what you respond to. And so in a very interesting kind of way, I never responded to it because I didn't really identify myself that way. And so for me, it was easy to let it run off of my back like water. Did it hurt? Oh, yeah, it hurt because I couldn't believe that this person that I showed so much reverence and respect for could actually do that. But again, it really had nothing to do with me. It was all him from the get-go. That was just who he was. And had I listened, right, had I understood that concept that people will go as far as you allow them to, and when people show you who they are, believe them, honey. Don't make excuses for people. That's who they are. And don't wait until things get bad for you to realize it or for you to see just how far it has to go for you to understand that, hey, there was never any respect there. There was never any respect there. Sometimes we're with people for a plethora of reasons, and none of those reasons could have anything to do with love. Sometimes we're with people for money. Sometimes we're with people for emotional security. Sometimes we're with people for, material security. When they get cold, what do they call them? They call them, I forget the name of it, but it's whatever that name is. It means whenever it's getting cold, somebody's going to be looking for a warm bed. Like they're going to be looking for somewhere to stay. And then when it starts getting hot, they leave it, right? But, we love for many different reasons. Sometimes it's just because we don't want to be alone, Sometimes it's because we need somebody to help us do some part of life that we don't want to do, right? We need somebody to help keep the house clean. We need somebody that's going to care for the kids because we don't want to, and so it's many different reasons why we pose love to others when it's not even that. It's not even that. It's something else. It's codependency. It's something else. And so had I listened to my intuition, that's why I'm big on intuition now, and I don't second guess or I don't rub off how I'm feeling for the sake of somebody else to make somebody else feel comfortable. I no longer do that. because I've learned the value of listening and following my own intuition, especially when it's concerning me. Mm-mm. If it's a choice between me and you might as well go on and go your way, because I'm always going to choose me. And that's why I've learned the value of following your gut instinct. It's so crucial. It could save you decades of wasted time and energy. I wouldn't necessarily say that I wasted time and energy. Those were very valuable lessons that I learned. But, could I have learned it another way that was more constructive? Sure, I think I could have. Um, I don't fault anyone, because at the end of the day, I stayed and I dealt with it. And so I was just as much responsible for how I was treated as he was, right? Because again, people will go as far as you let them. Okay. So if you have a pocket full of money and you let people come and just take, and then you end up with no money to pay your own bills, that's not their fault. That's not their fault, because it was your responsibility to budget your money and to take care of you. That money was given for you to take care of you. If you let someone come and take all your self-esteem, all of the value that you've been given, that's not all on them. Shame on them for doing it. They know better. They should have been taught better. But at the end of the day, that's your responsibility too. Now, I don't know why Spirit is having me talk about this, but the first time they show you the ass, the first time they show you who they are, the first time they call you out your name, it should only take one time. Believe them. That's who they are at a core. That's what it is. Okay? And so I don't know who needed to hear this, right? I don't know. Maybe this was for somebody. I'm praying that this crosses your path, that this attracts you. And if you want to know how the story ended, yes, it got worse. And yes, I finally did have enough. It didn't take a lot for me, because I don't like pain, right? That's why I only had 2 births, because I couldn't take the pain. But it didn't take a lot for me to walk away. I had enough early on. And it ended terribly, but I walked away in order to redeem and build myself back up, right? One thing I did know is when I had enough, and it didn't take a lot, right? But I've had enough, and it was time to go. It was time to just wash the slate clean, take my losses, and keep it moving. I wish I had made that decision the very first time. And this is about a little under 10 years prior to me deciding to walk away. But I wish I had made that decision the first time he called me out of my name. All right, that's just one example. This could be somebody that steals from you. This could be somebody that lies to you. This could be somebody that has cheated on you. This could be somebody that takes your car and don't bring it back. It could be any of those things. I'm just using this as an example. The first time the disrespect is shown, right? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't make them have to show you 2 and 3 and 4 times and wait until 10 or 15 years go by. And now you've wasted all this time finding out what you knew the first time he showed you. Thank him for showing you and keep it moving. Thank her for showing you and keep it moving, because it only gets worse. And then it becomes, okay, how far can I go? I was able to do that and they didn't do anything and they came back and they're under my, they're under my wing again. It's okay. Oh, all I have to do is just bring some flowers and it's good. Who wants to go through that? When you can have someone who respects you, even when things get rough, right? Even when things get rough. And you may end up with someone that's not what you expected. When we talk about having a type, right? It may not be the type that you expected, but they respect you. And I know that's a whole different subject, but, believe them the first time. There is a million people and growing in this world. And you mean to tell me that you feel like you stuck with this one? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. This is a new age, the age of the awakening. The things that used to be hidden are no longer hidden. And the only reason why we won't see it is if we choose to purposefully put our hand over our eyes. That's the only way that we won't see it. And if you choose to do that, that's fine. But you can't complain when you've given 20, 30, 40, 50 years to this. You cannot complain because you chose it. The first time they show you, this is what Spirit gave me to talk about tonight. It's for somebody. I don't know. I feel like it could be for somebody that's young, that's just starting, that maybe really don't understand, right, until they hear this message. And it's going to cause something to click. But the first time they show you, believe them, okay? One thing's for sure, actions always speak louder than words, right? And both sugar and salt cannot pour out of the same mouth at the same time, right? So if they're telling you they love you, but they're constantly disrespecting, I'm going to believe what you're showing me, because actions always speak louder than words. Believe them when they show you the first time, okay? That's for somebody. All right. I'm manifesting that this will cross whosever path needs to hear it. Take care.